to the channel. Benjamin Sesko, if you're not familiar with that name, he's a 19-year-old Slovenian centre-forward who's been described as a generational talent by his manager and those who play with him. And he's been on United's radar, as in scouts have been to watch him since late last year. So I'm thinking, with the argument raging about whether Ten Hag spends big money on someone who's coming towards the end of his career, i.e. Harry Kane, and there are alternatives, or like players that we can purchase alongside Harry Kane. Well, yeah, of course there are, and I've previously spoken about one, the Atalanta forward Rasmus Højlund. There's a link in the description to a video about Marcus Højlund if you want to see what I said about him. However, he's likely to be quite expensive, possibly too expensive to have him and Harry Kane at the same time, obviously depending on the transfer budget. So what is it about Benjamin Sesko that would make him a worthwhile target? So he's 19 years old and he's currently playing for Red Bull Salzburg, and he's scored he scored 16 goals this season in 37 games in all competitions. That potential could see him being the perfect replacement for Weghorst, because obviously Weghorst is not going to stay on at United in the transfer window. We'll let him go back to either his parent club or he'll go back to Turkey. So Sesko could be an intelligent investment for the future of the club, rather than rushing to sign the biggest, most, the biggest, most well-known players available on the market. If Kane is available, I mean, Daniel Levy hasn't said that he's willing to sell him yet. So we could pick up a bargain alongside Kane, or instead of Kane, at a much cheaper price. However, United have used kind of that, the tactic of buying youth in the past, and it hasn't really worked out yet. However, there's one major problem as well regarding Sesko, and that is that he's set to join RB Leipzig this summer. Basically, they've paid his current club £21.3 million, so 24 million euro. So he's set to join that club. But depending on if United get new owners and who they are, there's a couple of different things going on at the moment. And yeah, the final bids, the third round bids, were put in last night. But who knows? Right now, there's no news, and we could be part way through or all the way through May before we learn anything about who the Glazers' preferred bidder is, or if they decide to do that, or you know what I'm saying, it's all up in the air. So right now it's just a case of biding our time, looking at potential transfer targets. And I think I've said all along that whilst Harry Kane, watching it, for me, I made my mind up about Harry Kane in the 2-2 draw against Tottenham a couple of nights ago, and watching him play, especially in that second half, I thought, yeah, he can add goals, loads of goals to the side, but so much more. But I am concerned about how long he'll do that for. So I think if United have a transfer budget, they should be wise. I mean, you've got to look at it this way. Mason Greenwood was a generational talent, as Sesko is kind of dubbed to be. But the future of Mason Greenwood at the club is still up in the air, and I personally, I can't see him coming back and playing for United. It's more likely that he'll go somewhere else. So Ten Hag has to think of the future. Yes, immediately we need someone who's going to bang in the goals for us. And Harry Kane's also a playmaker. I was amazed watching him play. I've seen him play before, but for some reason I've just overlooked him. Maybe I'm just too United-centric. I have a bit of tunnel vision about United, and I don't really kind of focus on players from other teams too much. I am, unfortunately. I basically just watch United, and that's it. And possibly England as well when they're away, in not friendlies but internationals, like say the World Cup or the European Cup. But what I'm saying is, we need to think of the future. Okay, think of now, get Kane, get those goals, help us move on a peg or two, you know. So let's say we get the Carabao Cup and top four this season, that's a successful season, I'll be happy. But what about next season? We've got to build upon that success. And I do believe that Kane actually, for a season or two, or a couple of seasons at least, is that man who can help us. But we do need some quality backup, so we need other players on the bench who are proven goal scorers. Sesko is a proven goal scorer, not in the Premier League, no. I mean, if you were going to say, who do you get from the Premier League who's a proven goal scorer, who's younger than Harry Kane and can push it along? Ivan Toney every day for me. Ivan Toney. Yeah, he's got the kind of the gambling, the betting thing going on. He could go for around 50 million. Whereas Sesko could probably go for around 25, 30 million. But for me, you know, Sesko's young, he's 19. He has scored goals abroad in Germany. If you didn't want to spend 50 million on Toney, if Toney is available and doesn't get a big ban, then Sesko is an option. I'm not saying it's my only option. Look at that Rasmus Højlund video I mentioned. The link will be in the description below. We need backup. We can't just buy one striker. Kane gets an injury next season, we're back to square one. You have to build in redundancy. And the same goes for other positions as well in the squad. So we need somebody who can fill in for Bruno Fernandes, someone who can fill in for Casemiro. So what's going on now over the ownership of the club is huge. It's huge for next season. It's huge for the season after. I mean, we're building foundations here. Ten Hag's building foundations. Well, he wants to build foundations, so should I say. He steadied the ship a little bit this season. Those players he brought in, been overused, and we're seeing those injuries because of that. So, check out Benjamin Sesko's stats. Go on the website Transfer Market. It's not spelled M-A-R-K-E-T, it's M-K-T. Go on there, type his name in. There's a search box top right. Look at his stats, look at his career. He's a reasonable option. He's definitely worth looking at if Ten Hag has the budget. I'm thinking, so let's say Harry Kane, you know, there's that figure in the 100 million. I mean, is that a starting point or is that an end point? Who knows? But let's say 100 million. Sesko, let's say 30 million. That's 130 million. Say we get, who do you think? Let's say Casado. That's a bit of a hope, isn't it? I don't think Brighton will sell him anywhere, and I think that if they do, there's multiple clubs who want him. So we're in for a bidding war with him. So let's say 60 million. Yeah, probably a little low, but let's say 60 million. That's 190. So that's. Oh, we need a centre back as well. So a cover at centre back. Maguire will be gone hopefully. We get Lindelof. So we're on 190. We need a centre back. Let's say we spend another 50 on a centre back. That's 240. 240 million. So it's been talked about that Ten Hag will have to sell players. So let's say they sell Harry Maguire for 40 million. Right, that knocks that down to 200. Let's say we get another 40 mil from the sale of two other players. That's 160 mil. And let's say that McTominay goes to Newcastle for keep them. If they want him, let's make them pay for him. 50 mil. That knocks that budget down to 110 if I followed my train of thought right. So maybe 110 million is a reasonable amount of spend for two strikers, a midfielder, and a centre back. 4 players who will come in and give strength in depth. Now, just touching on, I mentioned McTominay to Newcastle. It's been spoken about that Ten Hag doesn't want to sell him at all, doesn't want him to go, and instead, he would leave. He would allow that, sanction him leaving if United got a large enough offer from the likes of Newcastle. Personally, I don't see that happening. I think it's just going to come down to Ten Hag will have to do the best he can with a reasonably small transfer budget, and get players out the door to supplement that, and that's it. Anyway, check out Sesko's stats on Transfer Market. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know he's young, but I mean, youth. He's already scoring goals. Maybe Ten Hag can mould him into a striker for the future. Someone who can learn from Harry Kane. Why not? Why not? There are options anyway. Thank you for watching. Please smash a like on the video. And if you don't subscribe, please subscribe and help the channel grow. Thank you.